Zachary, you'll be on chat, right?
Oh, like down to the link.
Yes, it's posted now.
Posted?
And I sent it to you.
You don't have any viewers yet.
2 years ago. I did not get an email.
It's on Facebook.
Sorry, 30 seconds ago. You just click on my email.
Okay, here it is.
And I posted it.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
I don't have any viewers yet.
I'll be on. Yeah.
Do you want me to broadcast this?
Yeah, you can just put it. That was perfect.
I'll just be on Facebook and on the event page. So.
Are you gonna use? You're gonna use the computer here?
Oh, I see. Well, why not just give that computer to Sapphire?
Why would I need that
Because
computer?
you can chat on there, right?
You can chat on her own computer too. You might. Do you have a PowerPoint or something?
I have 2 agendas.
You might want to just distribute the agendas.
Yeah, they have.
I don't see any viewers yet.
So Lisa, like,
Are you on?
Yeah, Rhonda said she can also.
I'm doing it, yeah.
Oh, we have 1 viewer.
Me.
Yeah, everyone sees you.
Oh, I see. Okay. I'll get out of here.
Sorry, I think this is better here. I'll just make an announcement and message you on people for.
Oh, Mark says Google Hangouts closed.
All right, everyone. Sorry about that once again, but we're back on, and you can't see me. There you go. We're back on, and if you want to ask any questions, please just message Sapphire. She'll start a thread on the Outreach Working Group event page, or just message her, and she'll relay the message to me. Okay, great. So everybody should have the link to the agenda that I posted, and that has everything that you need in it. If you don't have that, then just look on the event page, and you should be able to find it. So where was I? So basically, we were talking about the values for the Outreach Working Group, and if you click on, you'll see item C, and if you click C here, you will be able to open what's called the Outreach Working Group Plan. So basically, we'll go through the plan in a second, but before we do that, I just wanted to cover the guidelines or values for this group. And the reason we have these is because, just to set the tone for the group, and the first one is to be positive, because, being positive is absolutely important. When you meet people for the first time, obviously you want to give them the sense that you're approachable and somebody who, they would want to talk to. So it's kind of obvious, but also just important to mention. And one of the reasons that this is important is because when people do or say things that are outside of DxE values, obviously don't comfort or shame them. So being positive also entails like dealing with certain difficult situations in a way that that's constructive and focus on common values, and eventually people will pick things up just by virtue of hearing different perspectives. And the reason that we're mentioning this in the context of outreach is that when you are trying to get people to join a group or even come to a protest or potluck, they want to know about your work, the work that you're doing, and they're not always going to agree with it. So every time if someone comes up to you and says like, I just don't get DxE, and you get super defensive, like, well, I love DxE, and it's the best thing ever, and you must be the most horrible person ever. They're probably not going to want to engage. But instead, if you kind of focus on like, okay, well, yeah, I can understand that maybe protesting is not something, that's just not your, that's not your cup of tea. But maybe something else is. Maybe you like, community building efforts. And we have gotten so many people to come to DxE events and even protest because we started out engaging with them just by saying, hey, if you don't want to attend a protest, that's completely fine. But maybe you want to attend this community event about pizzas and making vegan pizzas. And we've had so many people join in because they saw that this was a great community and now also come to protest. So just number one on being positive. And the second one is focusing on high impact people. So while it's really, really great when we're trying to reach out to people to talk to everyone. Obviously, that's great. You know, Jason here knows about talking to everyone. He always makes sure to go out of his way to talk to everyone, give everybody a leaflet. Well, you know, there will come a time when you've tried to talk to people once or twice or 3 times, and they're just not, they might not be interested. You know, the best thing to do in that case is to move on to someone who's overly, you know, enthusiastic and positive and really wants to get involved. So the short basically conclusion for focusing on high impact people is to, you know, just make sure that you're engaging people who really actually want to be involved. That's not to say that we shouldn't engage people who don't want to be involved, but we should focus more on people who are, you know, clearly wanting to get involved, do more, and just want to be plugged into the community more. Okay, and then the third is to create a ladder of engagement. And we kind of touched on this, but you know, there's a variety of tasks and things and events that people attend. Not everyone's going to want to do the same thing. So not everyone is going to be interested in protesting. Not everyone's going to be interested in leafletting. So it's really good to have a really good idea of various things that people can do. So some of them are attending a community event. Bringing food to a potluck might not seem like, you know, the hardest thing to do or something that requires a lot of skill, but it's actually really necessary if we're trying to create a community. And you know, if you say like, hey, you seems like you really enjoy cooking. What do you think about bringing a dish to a potluck? Lisa is excited, so just gonna wait for a second.
Come on. Let's go. Come in here. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Lisa.
And then obviously we have things like leafletting, and then there's postering, and getting involved in a working group. So the basic idea of a ladder of engagement is giving people options. So some people don't have a lot of time and really just can't, you know, they work full-time jobs, they might be parents, whatever it is. We should try to, you know, involve people in a way that we can meet them on their level. So if they're only able to, you know, print leaflets, we should not only invite that, but also celebrate the fact that they're willing to do something for our community and for animal rights. And the question is, how do we make them feel like this is a good contribution for them? The last one is to celebrate successes. You know, obviously it's hard to have, you know, successes, especially big successes. And you know, when they come, we should celebrate them. So make sure the
414.
So make sure that the folks who are working on outreach, which will hopefully be everybody here, are celebrated as much as people organizing campaigns or doing speak out, because all aspects are important. Okay, so that is it for the guidelines or values for this group, or something just to set the tone of what we're trying to accomplish. And now we are going to go briefly over the outreach working group and the structure. So if everyone, Stafford, is everyone on internationally have access to or know what I'm talking about? The outreach working group structure document?
Is everyone able to see that? If you can't, send a message either on Facebook or message on the chat on the live stream. I can answer you from here. So,
Chris, you might want to go to Lisa. To Wayne's room. Okay, so yeah, if you don't have that document that we're talking about, please message Sapphire. And things are always busy at the DxE house. There's dogs barking and whatnot. But okay,
where was the link posted?
It's in the agenda.
Oh.
So if you see item number C, it says see here. Right here. Look, it's right
Okay,
here.
just continue.
Okay, so we're actually going to jump to item number 2. It's called recruitment strategy. And you know, the idea, okay, so when we're talking about, you know, outreach, the goal is to enhance visibility. And the idea is that right now we're, you know, at least in the Bay Area, what we see is happening is we have a tight-knit community, but we need to find ways to get out of that. So we're engaging more people. So we need to, you know, make DxE visible in a way that at least more people are hearing about it and have an opportunity to sign up to the mailing list and know about the fact that there is a community within, for us and, you know, locally in San Francisco Bay Area that they can be a part of. So, yeah, so there's postering, and one way to do that is to poster. We have locally a list, a really good list that Sapphire compiled for locations within San Francisco Bay Area, you know, that are vegan, that are animal rights friendly, or like whatever, for whatever reason, are social justice spaces that we can poster at. So later, locally, we'll be talking about the people in this room who are interested in, you know, in postering in the areas where you live, because you know, putting out these posters, especially in vegan restaurants, we're targeting the very people who we want to get involved. Sapphire, you have a question?
Can you clarify how to get to the agenda and how to get to this plan?
Yeah, the agenda should be posted on the event page. Okay. Do you not have it, Sapphire? Do you want me to?
I haven't seen it, but I want to, others are asking, so.
Okay, yeah. Let me. That's a good question.
Oh, okay, here it is. Here's the link. So
Okay.
it wasn't. I will,
Security comment on that?
I'm going to post right now to the Facebook event page, the link one more time. So if people see that.
Okay, and then right below whatever you're posting, I'm going to post the
Okay, good.
structure.
Perfect.
And thank you so much, Sapphire. All right, okay. So I have posted the link to the outreach plan that I was talking about. Sorry about the fact that some of you did not get that before I started talking. Okay, so what was that? So yeah, we were just talking about recruitment. And so one of the things that we are going to implement with the outreach working group that gets started locally here in the Bay Area is we have a mailing list, and all of the chapters, especially everyone who's here on the call, you can have a mailing list as well. So if you don't have a mailing list yet, and you've been participating in DxE's monthly days of actions and, you know, doing all of those things, then you should have a mailing list. So if you want one, please reach out to myself. I will make sure to get you one after. And the idea is that we're going to measure our results. You know, we want to do outreach and we want to talk to people, and we want to invite them, but we also want to make sure that it's working. And so one of the ways that we are going to implement measuring the results is by looking at how many people we're adding to the DxE SF Bay Area local mailing list every month. And so right now we have set the goal of having 50 new signups on the mailing list. And this might seem like a big number, but you know, it's actually not. If you're attending a lot of animal rights events, if you're engaging a lot of people online or otherwise in local, you know, events, then 50 seems pretty reasonable, because we come across so many people at events like, for example, the Walk for Farm Animals or Veg Fest. So this is one way that we are going to measure how our outreach efforts are working. Okay, so that's for you know, for recruitment. But a really important part about, you know, inviting people and engaging people is reaching out to them one-on-one. Most of you have probably gotten like messages from me or other people that are just saying like, you know, kind of like copy and paste group messages. And what we have learned, and especially me, like having messaged so many people, is that if you want people to come out to events, sending out like mass messages is not going to do it. So having like a group of people, or at least 1 or 2 people, take out time out of their day and just go through everybody in your local mailing list and email them about especially important events, but definitely, you know, like a list of upcoming events, and personalize it is super important. So, Jenny, do you can close the window? Sorry, there's a train passing. So, so what was I saying? Yeah, so basically, you know, personally messaging people is super important. And especially for the upcoming November Day of Action, you know, we really want to get out as many people or more than we had last year. And last year we had 150 people attend a protest inside of Whole Foods, and 150 people attended. So this year, hopefully, we can get 200 people. And one of the things that we did last year was all of us, especially the organizers, personally messaged people and said, like, hey, this is a really important event. It's certainly very important to me, and I would love to see you there. And people feel compelled when you send them a personalized message. So yeah, one of the things that we are definitely going to do, and we've done this in the past, but we need to systematize this, is to have one-on-one outreach happen every month, where people are reaching out to folks on Facebook within the community, and you can use your community mailing list as a way to do this. So everyone who's ever signed up for San Francisco Bay Area mailing list, we're gonna message them and just say, hey, like, just want to let you know, November 22nd, huge day of action coming up. Really want you to come. Send them a personal message and keep up this effort every month. And of course, if people say that they don't want to be messaged, you can ask them as well. Then don't message them and keep them off the list. But from my experience, I think most people really appreciate that, because if you've seen Facebook, there's so many things going on. It's just, it's not, it's not always easy if you're not on Facebook to know what's important and what's not. Or what you're invited to. So Safar, if you want to jump in at any point, if people have any questions, let me know.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Okay, cool. Okay, so that's that. And like I said, here locally, after we're done going through the overview of the structure of the outreach working group, we're going to be talking about exactly how to do those things. At which point you can all watch and hopefully see what we're going to be doing, but we'll encourage you to do that internationally.
Hannah has a question.
Go ahead.
Actually.
I'm gonna get water. Yeah, that's fine.
Hannah, do you want to type it out?
Is
One.
okay.
Or you can,
Yeah, you can interrupt.
okay, I'll interrupt you.
Yeah, no problem.
And the other question ready.
Okay, so the second, number 3
Oh,
on,
actually, okay. So
go ahead.
So for the mailing lists, is there a way to change the display name? Some people have non-intuitive emails, and I don't know who they are.
I don't know the answer to that question.
This might be a question that's more for the tech folks than anybody else. No, Mitch is shaking his head.
Well, why don't we write that down in the notes and then we can get back to it later.
So Hannah, we'll get back to you on this question later. But thank you. Okay.
Okay, so the item number 3 on this outreach working group's plan is leafletting. And one of the things that we have not done yet, and we really should be doing, is taking advantage of the many vegan and animal rights events that are in the area, and using those, events as an opportunity to not only engage with people about getting involved in DxE. Of course, we should be doing that, but we should also put a genuine effort to attend these events, because supporting other initiatives is always great, whether it's a DxE initiative or not. So I'll just give you a few examples. We've kind of only done this, once officially, but we have a monthly, I think it's monthly Very Vegan Sundays.
Oh.
So Very Vegan Sundays is like a very vegan foodie event that happens every month in San Francisco, and we, nobody had attended it, or at least from DxE, like we kind of didn't know about it, and then when we, thought like we should really go out to this, because it's a chance to engage with vegans and other possible animal rights activists, and at least get people to engage with you about like animal rights, and there might be people involved and interested. So another thing that we're going to do is we're going to systematize people, or systematize leafletting. And what that means in very simple terms is every month someone is going to, hopefully someone within your core chapter, or hopefully someone within this group here, is just going to take the responsibility of saying, okay, this month I'm going to look at all the Facebook events or whatever events on Meetup that are happening and just make a list of them. Mm-hmm. And what we're going to do here is we're going to, we have a station set up here that's like pick up your leaflets. And I can't really show you because I don't know where it is. But basically we put up a folder and we put leaflets and business cards in there, and posters, and we encourage people to take those and go out and leaflet. So we're going to send out an email to our community mailing list every month and say, hey, here's these events that are coming up. If you would like to leaflet at them, please come over to the DxE house, pick up your leaflets, and you know, take a phone with you, or if you don't have a smartphone, a paper and pencil, pen or paper is totally fine. And you know, just use that opportunity to engage with people, leaflet, and also get people who are interested and want a community to be a part of to be on the community mailing list. So the one thing I'd say is that's probably not going to happen if one person is not responsible for it. So we're going to be looking here today for someone who's like, okay, you know what, I can totally do that. I can definitely work on leafletting and how, you know, try to find several locations where, or events that are happening in the next month to leaflet, and then coordinate people within the community who are interested, and say like, yeah, come over to the DxE house, pick up some leaflets, and go and leaflet at this event. Okay, so the third one is tabling. And similar to leafletting, what we want to do is create, tabling is expensive. So this is not super high priority. Sometimes it can be expensive, sometimes it's not expensive. Actually, Chris knows about this more, so Chris, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. But here we actually have like a table, and then we have a tabling bag, which basically has like all the tabling items. And what we want to do with outreach is we want to, again, find different locations that are either monthly or like repetitive that we want to leaflet at. So I was thinking, you know, somebody told us this a few weeks ago. They were like, hey, there's at Lake Mary, which is not far from where we live, they have First Friday event. And First Fridays here in Oakland are basically this monthly event where, you know, there's like food and people who are booths that are like selling their whatever items or whatnot. But we can table actually at a very low cost. It's like $20 or something kind of, you know, not very expensive. And we should be doing that. So we should try to coordinate an effort to have people go out and table and, you know, just coordinate the DxE table and just leaflet and talk to people about getting involved in DxE and talking to them about, you know, what we do. So that's another thing that we will hopefully be also doing. And I think leafletting and tabling, whoever is interested in that can definitely sort of take the lead on both these things. They're sort of similar. Stafford, did you have a question? No, no, you're good. Okay. Okay, so that's that. Number 5 on the list is, I can't read Roman numerals, it's so bad. Sorry, I couldn't read it for a second. That's 5, right? Yes, okay. Number 5 is Tupperware parties. Some of you probably, most of you have probably heard a presentation where Wayne talked about this idea of Tupperware parties. And I hope I can explain this well, but basically Tupperware parties is this idea of bringing in people who are vegan, animal rights, and then obviously, you know, people who are not animal rights activists or not vegans. And the question is how to bring them together in one place with a common theme. So a really good example of this, which occurred in our community sort of organically, was one of our community members, her name is Isabella, she's an amazing photographer, had this event about photography and animal rights. And if you think about that, that kind of brings in 2 different groups of people in one common place, and gives us an opportunity to connect with people who are not otherwise within our, you know, group of people who are vegans and animal rights activists. So when we went to this event, we had an opportunity to talk to people who were interested in photography, but we were looking at it through a lens of animal rights. But that's just one example, and we can do this with everything. Like, you know, I used to be a makeup artist, and what I should do is I should like say, hey, let's like, you know, let's have an event of how to do makeup, and I'm gonna use all vegan or cruelty-free makeup, and we can bring in like 2 different groups of people and, you know, give an activist a chance to talk to non-activists with a common sort of theme. So if that didn't make sense, let me know. Someone else here can probably explain it better.
Oh, so Kara was wondering if there's a specific leaflet that you're referring to. I assume for it's probably was for tabling.
Oh, okay.
I assume.
Well, for tabling, we have a few different things. We have, we try to use our little someone not something flyers, postcards telling the stories of animals, and then also our Earthlings flyer. But for leafletting, another thing that we want to do is we want to, just basically have a very short list of leaflets which makes sense in certain events. So if you're going to like a, if you're going to like a vegan food event, it might make sense to just take an Earthlings leaflet because it sort of covers everything generally. And if you're just postering, we have a lonely vegan flyer. So basically, I'm gonna give everyone who's interested, in all these things, I'll give everyone a packet and that'll include all of this information in here. Actually, if you go down to the outreach, the document with the outreach working group plan, you'll see the last thing, it says materials. So there's one of the materials is postering locations, which unfortunately, if you're international, is not relevant to you, but you can still see how we compile lists of locations in the San Francisco Bay Area that are relevant for postering.
And I'd be happy to talk, this is Sapphire, I'd be happy to talk to people about compiling a list like that. If you have any questions about it, please just shoot me an email or a Facebook message.
Okay, so yeah, thank you, Sapphire, because she compiled this list and she can help you do that with, for example, New York or Philadelphia. It's pretty easy and something that is a great tool. The second thing is promotional tasks and contacts list. Actually, Kira, you know about this list today because you helped, Kira and I were working today on promoting the Huffington Post article. And we basically used this list where I worked on the Facebook groups while Kira worked on the Facebook pages. And that way we were, we kind of had a very good idea of like where to do online promotion. So that's different. We'll talk about that later. But there is that already in the materials. And there is supposed to be a link to a general outreach spreadsheet here, but I didn't link it yet. I will have it linked. Actually, I'll just do that right now. All right. So okay. So I just linked everyone to the general outreach spreadsheet, and that again might be something that is looks like it's only relevant. Yeah, it is kind of relevant to San Francisco Bay Area, but you can create a similar spreadsheet or so you can create a similar spreadsheet. And obviously one thing you can do is we're going to have a better list of all the leaflets. So if you're asking people to leaflet, you can just say, hey, like we need these leaflets printed, here they are, or print them yourselves. But that will be updated. And the point of the spreadsheet is to every month to have like events that are upcoming that are relevant for us to leaflet at. So I hope that answered your question, Kira. Let's see. Okay, so that is, okay, so I was talking about Tupperware parties. And so yeah, the idea for Tupperware parties, the action items would be to reach out to interested community members willing to host an event around a shared interest where activists and non-activists can come together. I would consider this, I think this is a great tool, but I think there's certain things on here that are more higher priority. And I think although this is very, very important, I would definitely place something like leafletting or tabling and doing one-on-one outreach before jumping into Tupperware parties, unless there's something that kind of happens organically and it makes sense to try to coordinate an effort like this. So yeah, and then the next item is to explore collaborations. And we try to do this. I think everybody tries really hard, whether it's local organizers or international organizers, to try to reach out to other groups and collaborate. But we should try to do this in a very systematic way and say like, okay, who are the groups in San Francisco Bay Area? Or who are the groups in New York? Who are the vegan animal rights groups in Philadelphia? Who are the groups in Indiana? And compile a list of them and at least see like, hey, have we tried reaching out to these people? Because if we haven't really done that, then then we should go out of our way and, for example, go and try to have coffee with the Vegan Animal Rights Club coordinator and say, hey, like, how can we work together? And this is where our values come in handy, where even if you can't work together on like organizing a protest because disruptions or targeting Whole Foods or the humane myth is just not that group's forte, then we can work on like a community event together. So, you know, we've been trying to do this in the Bay Area, and we haven't, you know, been very successful yet, and that's probably because we just haven't tried as systematically as we could. But the idea is to explore collaborations in a way where we can emphasize and come together with other animal rights groups on areas where we can work together. So, for example, the Humane League, we've been trying to, you know, organize potlucks or community events so that both groups can come together and bring our different members to, you know, one space and just say, hey, like, this is a place for us to just connect, because we're stronger when we're together. So exploring collaborations is a great idea. And I think the idea here is to like create a list of animal rights groups in your area and see like who can I contact and who can I get together with, and, you know, how can I talk about, what can I talk about that we can come together on. And one tip I would give is when you're meeting with someone from another group, always like read up about it. So for example, when we were at the Animal Rights Conference, this last one, Wayne and I met with a Well-Fed World's Dawn Moncrief, and, you know, we definitely made sure to read up about the work that she's been doing, not just because, I mean, we already sort of know what a Well-Fed World is doing, but it's really good to show others that you're trying to collaborate with, that, you know, you've done some, you know about what their important work is. And also just to like offer different ways to work together. And, you know, this is not always going to be easy. I know there's going to be some groups who won't want anything to do with us. And that's when, you know, we say, hey, like, I'm just going to be positive, and we should always leave room for conversation and be open to collaboration. And some people will come around and some groups will come around. And if they're not ready yet, that's fine. We should just focus on people and organizations where there is so much possibility for collaboration. And the best so far, I must say, for us has just been March for Elephants, and how supportive March for Elephants San Francisco and DxE have been. And we've worked together in like the most amazing way. You know, we've attended, DxE organizers have attended March for Elephant meetings and put out our skills and said, hey, you know, we know how to organize marches, and, you know, we can help you with speak outs, and we can help you lead, you know, lead chants, because that's our skill. And I know that was really appreciated by March for Elephants. And we've gotten so much, you know, just great advice from Rosemary, who is the founder of March for Elephants, and just work together with so many other people who've then also come to DxE because of March for Elephants. And one of them is Jean, who's here. And you're wearing an elephant shirt too. Okay, all right, so we're almost done, but basically, so a really great thing that we could all do, and I think we kind of have done this again, but not systematically, is donations. There's so many vegan restaurants, and there's so many vegan grocery stores, well, not so many, but there are some, and there's other grocery stores that are willing to give out so much vegan food, and we should at least ask them and say like, hey, are you, you know, do you think that you would want to donate to this one event, or do you think you'd want to donate on a weekly basis? Whatever it is, this is something that we should do, and whoever takes the lead in working on this, one of the projects that we can, you know, definitely use help with, I didn't put this in here, is like, we should have like a letter that we, a letter of request that we can send out to, for example, any local, you know, local store or a vegan store, whatever it is, just to ask them, like, are you willing to donate? Because that will make things so much easier if you have, sorry, my phone's reminding me that it's time to work out. Sorry, what was I saying? Yeah, that, you know, if you have like free vegan food, we got, because of, I think, Kitty, a lot of great like peanut butter, almond butter packets. And so many of us like use them at the forum, probably some of you who are on the live stream right now, and that's because, you know, they were donated. So bagels and peanut butter were donated, and having things like that, especially for big, huge events, was so helpful. All right, the last one, but not least, of course, is I think this is something that's super important, and I would consider this very different from what I've talked about up until now, which is local promotion. So this is something that we all can come together on, and this is called online promotion. And I could literally spend hours on, like sort of training everyone on how to do promotion, because there's one thing that I have learned in, because of being in DxE for a long time is how to promote. And I'll just give one example in a second, but the idea is, we need outreach coordinators to post on, to promote. And the idea is that, we're using, so for example, today we had a really great article that was posted in the Huffington Post, Wayne's article, and about the Liberation Pledge. And we want to get this out there. So Kira and I put our brains together and we were like, we're going to do this. So we use this, we have compiled a spreadsheet. And what I have done is basically I've added myself to every vegan group that I could possibly find on Facebook. So I probably get like 100 notifications every day just because I'm on so many vegan groups, which makes it really hard to read through notifications. But it's great because when it's time to promote something, I have this really amazing tool at my hand, which is 1,000 Facebook groups, and there is definitely an art to this. So it sounds easy, but it's actually there's little things that that are super important, and I really do think that that's kind of a discussion for another time. But I wanted to give an overview of that. So I will probably do like in our next meeting, whoever wants to officially join the outreach working group, how to do online promotion, because so useful, and it's really one of the reasons, when we promote, you can see like Priya posted or Kira posted in 13 groups, Priya posted in, Vegans for Animals or Vegan Philosophy Forum. You get notified and you see what I posted, and this is a really important tool that all of us should be using to promote, not only your local things, but also really the big things that are happening in DxE or Animal Rights Network. So the basic tasks and duties for online promotion include promoting DxE coverage and content on local and international Facebook groups. So an example I just gave would be like a really important article that was written in the Huffington Post. Another one is like every month, we try to get out people to our monthly day of action, the main event page. And we really want as many people to be invited as possible and as many people to come as possible. So thanks again to Kira, who totally helped promote the November Day of Action event. And now it has more visibility than it did if just a few of us were doing it from a small area. And what we've learned with promotion is the more people do it in different areas, like if I'm promoting something in San Francisco and somebody else is promoting the same thing in New York, somebody else promoting the same thing in India, it's definitely going to get higher, ranked higher on Facebook, and then people are going to be able to see it more. So, okay, so, and then there's a component for this, which is for local event promotion, and that's inviting people to all local events, adding new people to groups. So for example, we have the community forum, we have a local Facebook group called Bay Area Vegan Team, and it just hasn't been updated. So like, I'm pretty sure, Mitch, you're not on it because there's nobody who's updating it. And so one of the tasks that we want someone in the outreach working group to take on is, just to notify someone and say, hey, are you on this team yet? You should request to be added to this group because we usually update folks on here. So that's something that, we should all try to do and make sure we do it systematically so that someone like Mitch doesn't get left out of it, or someone like Anthony or Jason, who are all people in this room who've been a part of our community but aren't on these Facebook groups because we don't have a good system to add them. And then I talked about in the materials section, we have something called promotional tasks and contacts, and we have a list of Facebook pages, Facebook groups, and etc. One thing that Sapphire and I realized when we were trying to do this is like trying to compile Facebook groups in one spreadsheet is like is hilarious because you can probably have 2,000 of them. And so the one just general thing that I'm going to tell everyone who's interested in, not only being a part of the outreach group, but interested in increasing visibility and helping out with this for your own purposes or for purposes of DxE, is try to add yourself to as many groups as possible. And for me, I view my Facebook as like a tool for activism. So my profile is public, and so I'm personally comfortable with it. So I would say that, if you don't want to get too many notifications and you just can't mentally handle it, probably not the best thing for you, because it will, like, it's kind of, yeah, there's a lot of groups, a lot of notifications, but at the same time, it's a really great tool that we should all consider using if we want to increase visibility. Okay, I've covered everything, and I wanted to leave room for questions before we move on to like the actual logistics of the outreach working group and and covering those details. So does anyone in this room or on the broadcast have any questions? I'm gonna get a group of water while you all do that. Oh, a drink of water. Yeah, a group of water,
Go ahead and ask any questions you have on the YouTube chat. If you have them, I'll read them out.
Anyone here? When we have better technology set up in advance, we can figure out how to, well, I know it's not that hard, but we need to have a different platform, is to screen share, and then I can actually do a training, like a very mini training on like, okay, here's how here's the best way to share from the DxE page. So for example, some of you might not have known, but if you share, if there's a link posted on the main DxE page, for example, and you're just sharing that link with that, not through the DxE page, it actually is kind of it's not hurting anything, but it's not adding on to it. So you know how whenever you share something, you can see like 300 shares, and you want it to track back to the main page, especially if it's a link. The best way to do that is to promote the links from the main page so that everything comes back. It's kind of like you're getting the credit, and you're getting more people engaging with that post, but on your page. So more people are not only reading about this Huffington Post article, but they're also seeing via direct action everywhere, and they're going to click on it and are more likely to engage with that page. So just like some small things that we overlook, but are actually kind of important. But yeah, anyway, so does anyone have any questions from online about anything that I said? No? Okay. Let's see.
I'm sorry, what's blurb?
Okay, a blurb is something that, this is actually a really important question. So Anthony asked, what is a blurb? And basically, a blurb is something that you, in this context, that you're using to promote a certain post. So, every time I go on a Facebook group and I'm trying to get someone to, we're trying to promote the Huffington Post article, we want to use a blurb, like, see today's article on Huffington Post where DxE's Wayne Chung writes about how animal lovers are transforming Thanksgiving. And of course, you don't want to do one separate one for each page that you're promoting on. So you can just kind of have a copy and paste blurb present and, kind of run with it. And the idea that, like, what we really want to do is for folks who are involved, really, really want to commit to being a part of the outreach working group, which we'll go through in just a moment, is, the idea is like we will set up a mailing list where whoever's interested will be involved or on the mailing list. And, I can, for example, like, most of the time when there's promotion, I kind of tend to do that. But it's really good to have help where all of us can kind of get involved. So the idea would be like, we can just send an email to outreach@directactioneverywhere.com or whatever. We haven't set that up yet, so we don't know how it's going to work. And people can see it, and I'll say, here's the blurb. Here's the Facebook pages, and we can divide it up, or however we choose to do it, whoever wants to help. And then those people can just say, okay, I'm doing like these 30 groups, and I'm doing the pages, and we have this blurb that we're using to promote it. So that's a blurb. Yeah, it's a really good question. And usually a blurb is something that like whoever's coordinating that effort, you know, whoever's posting on the DxE page, like will tell you, hey, here's what you do, you know, here's the, so like, it's not something you'll have to come up with yourself. It's something that, you know, so for example, if the Huffington Post went up, we have people here who are posting on the main DxE page will let us know like what to do with it.
So I have a question from Hannah. So they asked, can we get lots of blank flyers that we can add info to, like the ones Araceli posted, so we don't have to reinvent all those paper materials from scratch? And Araceli did have some post that was made. I think that this would be totally reasonable to get some sort of basic template out.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think we can either, I know it's not very clear yet, but we will definitely have a place where people can see, here's where I can go get all the leaflets, and they will be in there, and you can change the template. And if you can't change it because it's on Photoshop or whatever, we will, you know, someone who's working on design will, you know, help you make your flyer so that if you like the design, then you can do that.
I also have actually, I can send this out if people are interested, but I found this resource of graphic design tools for activists, and it's got actually some really useful tools. Not all of them are gonna have like maybe the fonts that you will necessarily want, but that's like also okay. And there's also free tools that are like Photoshop, so like GIMP is one option if you don't have Photoshop that you can download. And there's definitely free tools out there. So I can go ahead and post that resource.
Yeah, that would be
like that.
super helpful.
Yeah.
And then we should probably, we should definitely take note of the idea of like having template leaflets so that other organizers can use it that are ready for you to use, whether you're in San Francisco or New York. Okay, so I'll just give 1 or 2 minutes for anyone to, you know, who might have any last questions. But I was thinking that at this point we can talk about next steps, and some of the next steps are really kind of relevant to what the people in this room would be doing for SF Bay Area. But I can certainly talk about what we're doing here, and you can implement this in your own chapter. So the things that we want to work on is like, you know, who's our target audience here, and where can we, like, you know, should we be in San Francisco more? Like, should we be leafletting in San Francisco more? Because for whatever reason, seems like San Francisco seems to have more of the type of people that we're looking to engage with. I don't know what that means yet, but it's just an example. And like how to reach out to people individually before the day of action. And it says using an Airtable, but I don't have that Airtable yet. But the idea is that we just want to compile a list of people in our area so that we have a list of people to reach out to every month for every action.
Airtable's free too. The Airtable.
Yeah, Airtable is
sign
free.
up for Airtable.
Yeah, and I don't know anything more about Airtable besides the fact that it's called Airtable and that it's free. So I know Mitch is here from our tech team, so we can talk more about it. But yeah, and so some other things that we'll be working on here is our monthly list of events where to leaflet, and then a regular list of future events where we're going to be doing tabling. And then also we're going to be talking a little bit more specifically on our coming up with an outreach plan for the November Day of Action for San Francisco Bay Area, and then we have a few events here like Fall Feast for Birds and for Free Friday that we want people to know about more. So, so that's what we're going to be talking about. But I did want to say, you know, if you want to be involved in the working group, the idea that we're, you know, that I have in my mind is that we want to work on this every week. So it's going to be a working group, and that means that we're going to have a weekly meeting, which is specifically focused on outreach. Because as you can see, there's so many different moving parts, and probably for at least 2 months, we're just going to be focusing on a few of them, but we need to at least set up a structure where we are thinking about these things and going about it. So if you want to be a part of the outreach working group, I know that for people internationally, that's going to kind of mean sitting in on meetings where we're talking about local stuff. And also we can, definitely talk about online promotion. You have a question?
So Adian, how does should we send things to the page so they're posted by direct action everywhere, or should we simply post them to the page under our own names and then share them from there?
Wait, can you ask that again?
I think what they might be trying to ask is getting things posted onto the DxE main page.
Oh, okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think there might be delays, so there might be a while before a correction, but I'll check.
Okay,
I'll double
sure.
check. Yeah.
Is that outreach working group in your own agenda? Is that something different? Like,
That's just an agenda for today.
Oh, okay.
And then then there's a working group, like
Okay.
it's like just a basic plan.
Okay.
Okay, so then I was thinking like, I think this is a really, really great idea for anyone who's like, I really want to do something where I feel like I can have ownership over a project and also lead it. Because all of these things are things we have never worked on before, at least in a way that's like very going into detail and like we're really committing to it. Just we haven't had bandwidth, we have not had time. So the reason I divided everything in the plan in certain aspects was because I feel like people can kind of take lead on all of those things in a way that that kind of becomes your like baby, something that you can do and have ownership over. So for example, the recruitment strategy. I mean, we can, anyway, so the idea behind recruitment is like, let's think systematically when we meet every week, very, very systematically about like, or in a structured way about how to create a structure where we are reaching out to people every month and we're doing it in a way that is helping us increase the amount of people that are coming to protest. And we have seen that in the past when we have done this, it has really helped. Just engaging with people on one-on-one, whether it's a phone call, a text message, or a or just a message on Facebook, whatever the preferences of the person. It's just helped because people feel like, wow, thanks for reaching out to me. That was good. Like I wouldn't have remembered, or I'm glad you did that because it makes people feel compelled and that they're being noticed.
That was the question. I just got a clarification. It was how to post things in DxE page.
Okay, so how to post things on
a video or something like that.
Yeah, so basically, as people might have seen, when we posting on a DxE page, there's a specific group of people who do that, and because of Facebook's algorithms, we don't post everything unless it's kind of like a high quality video or something that's very very likely to engage a lot of people. We try to keep our posts to 2 to 3 a day, and something like for example, what happened with the Bill Clinton disruption. Obviously, we posted that to the main page because it was something that's likely to get a lot of visibility and attention. But of course, you should definitely post your local videos on your own pages. So for example, the Dog Meat Please video, something like that, we posted it on our own pages. First, because it actually increases your visibility more and kind of shows people like, oh, like Aiden's out there, like we should definitely pay attention to this person, just to this disruption. And because we're not always going to be able to cover, over 50 or 60 videos, Dog Meat Please, on our main page. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it on your own local pages or on your own personal page, because you can actually get a lot of visibility through doing it that way. Because for example, like when we posted our Dog Meat Please videos on our own page, it actually got more likes and shares because we did it through our personal pages than on Facebook, just because Facebook is strange like that. So I hope that I answered that question. Sapphire, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I have nothing to add. I'll see if I have any further comments. I think there's a delay though. So
okay, yeah. So what I was saying is like, if someone's obviously folks internationally, if you're interested in online promotion, that's great, but don't feel like all these other things are limited to, you're just limited to the online promotion, because you can be involved in different aspects of it. You might be working with people in San Francisco Bay Area, but still it might kind of give you a way of looking at what we're doing here and how you can implement it in your own chapters. So we can, if you want to be involved, basically, we'll help you be involved. So if you're interested in working on like recruitment and, measuring results, like that's kind of your thing, like you should definitely be take the initiative in recruitment strategy. If you feel excited to hear about leafletting and tabling and you think like, I'm excited about like seeing what events are coming up in the next month, and I want to help DxE in doing this, increasing visibility by just like trying to coordinate people getting out to events to leaflet and sign up on mailing lists or just table, then you should, then that's probably what you want to work on. And then we have Tupperware parties, exploring collaborations, donations, and what was the last one? Online promotions. So I divided it up like in this way, just so that everyone can feel like you have somewhere that you can, you can belong or take ownership over, because all of these are things that we could definitely do much better job at, and we just have not tried yet. I have officially talked too much. So I was thinking, I hope this is not rude, but I was thinking to either shut down the broadcast, or if people want, we can keep it on and just kind of work here, and you can just like listen to us work, and you can, and obviously can, we can be a part of it too. But hopefully, when we actually have a regular working group for this, we will Skype you in or Google Hangout, because we're not expecting it's going to be 20, 30 people. So we can have a good way so that you can actually communicate. But I don't know if anyone wants to stay on, because we're actually going to be working on a few things locally here. And let's see.
I'll probably just add that people can feel free to contact with questions if things come up after, right?
Yeah, and one of the things that we're going to be discussing is, actually, I would like to know who is interested in, remaining involved in the outreach working group, so that they're not just like, oh, that was it? Like, that was a great meeting. I actually want to be involved in this more, so that if there are further meetings, we get their input on when they are and like how they can be involved. So maybe just if you're interested in being involved and remaining in the loop about outreach, you should just let Sapphire know, and we'll make sure that, if there's a meeting, I'll probably send out a survey, just so those who are interested in being a part of weekly meetings and kind of committing to being an outreach working group have a chance to vote on when we're meeting. So we're definitely going to have a weekly meeting. So yeah.
That's what time of the weekly meeting?
Well, that's the thing. I want to get a good idea of who's interested, and then send out a survey to see like when are the times people can meet. And obviously, if you can't meet, we can always join through like a hangout. But it would be preferred if we can all meet in the same place, because you just get more stuff done just being in like this. And we have a good workspace here. So okay, so should we?
I think you should probably clarify whether that group, nobody asked, but like,
Yeah.
if that group is going to be international folks and local folks working together, or if you mean one group for international, one for local. What's the
Well, I think I mean, this is just my opinion, but I think that we're not that big yet, that we need two groups and two different times. So I was hoping that we can have a local meeting about outreach, and that international folks who are interested, organizers who are interested, can actually sit in. And even though you might not want to be like involved in like learning about or seeing like what events we're doing outreach or leafletting at, you might just want to know what structure we're using so that you can replicate that structure for your own chapter.
So one option might also be to, and people who are going to be in on this should vote on this, but one other option might be to have a section at the beginning that's for international folks, where you go over structure and anything that's kind of, updates for the whole network for promotion. And then after that, switch to a more local focus or something along those lines. But
yeah, no, that's a great idea. And we can definitely do that. Like either like 15 minutes before the meeting, or 20 to 25 minutes where we're like, okay, we're going to talk about online promotion. And if you're interested in doing this, then we can just talk about this at the very end or very beginning. And when we're talking about structure, then you can be a part of it. So maybe we can divide it up like that. But yeah, it would be great if you could tell Sapphire who is interested, so that I'm not keeping you out of like email notifications about future events. And we're definitely going to be doing like a how to promote online training. Okay, so is it okay with everyone on there if I shut down the live stream? Or we can just keep it on, I can like move.
Okay, I've got Aiden and Hannah are interested. Anybody else, especially if we're shutting it off, best if you message me to let me know that you want to be involved, because I don't know if I'll be able to have access to the chat after.
Okay, thanks everyone. I hope that was helpful, and thanks for joining. I know that some of you are joining from East Coast, and it's like really late there. So thanks for joining us. All right. Okay, should I shut it down?
I think it's. Hang on, let me see where it's at.
Okay.
Okay, it's talking about.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.